headlines are just sent for posting. An enormous batch of material will be going up shortly. This idea of a coronavirus stimulus package continues to become more pathetically politicized every day. It is now being revealed that the Democrats, the socialist communist Democrats, have been cramming all manner of garbage into this bill, which is supposed to be designed to help American citizens deal with and get through this crisis, which we will in time. There is even a large batch of Green New Deal excrement hidden in the bill. See, they know how these things work. All these people with their special interests and their backdoor political chicanery, they cram stuff into these bills knowing that no one will ever read them, and they put them together and pass them and hope that Trump will sign them under some kind of pressure. Well, to his credit, and we always give credit where credit is due, he said he won't sign the bill, and in fact has come out with his own $6 trillion, not $2 trillion, $6 trillion package as a stimulus and relief support measure for the American people. Well, it sounds kind of neat, huh? And all of you already know this, the money that they're going to print out of thin air to fund this kind of a thing is a joke. There is no money. We're bankrupt. Money is absolutely a function of psychology. There's no worth to it. The only thing that has any intrinsic, inherent, honest-to-God value are precious metals now and rare earths. And that's the truth. Let me just read a couple of these stories. Let me pull up the news here that I just sent over and find some of these things. They're just incredible. All right, well, first of all, I think most of you understand that this virus, created, bioengineered, or some kind of quirk of nature, which I just personally can't see, is designed to allow the controllers, the 1%, well, it's really 1/10 of 1%, that run the world, either on their own or with some kind of off-planet evil. You can have fun with that one. Do with it what you will. The bottom line is they're using this to force all of us into the next world. And the next world includes, as one of its cornerstones, digital currency. All right, the House stimulus bill creates a digital dollar to send virus aid to the unbanked. If you don't have a bank account, you're unbanked. So they're going to give you digital currency. See, baby steps. That's how they do it. Digital currency is in the coronavirus stimulus bill. Fiat currencies, says Alasdair MacLeod on the Kaiser report, will be gone by the end of the year. That's probable. Probable. We'll be all on digital cards like a credit card by the end of the year. And if you don't get your vax when they're ready, they'll simply shut your card off. You won't be able to get your money. There's a lot going on here that the average American will never understand until it's too late. That's not to say that a lot of people aren't waking up. They just don't know what it is they're waking up to. U.S. markets bounce back on government rescue promise. Bounce back from what? It's all a joke. The Fed vows to print more money. That was the term they used. Out of thin air, of course. There is no money. The country is utterly bankrupt and broke. It has been looted to the gills by those special people who got the Federal Reserve Act passed in 1913. You all know that. Gold. Goldman Sachs on gold. Time to buy. It's the currency of last resort. Well, yeah. The gold market is breaking down. Gold spreads have exploded as the LBMA warns of liquidity problems. Gold is selling like toilet paper. If you haven't bought physical gold yet, it's probably too late. Yes, probably too late. Okay, with that said, let's welcome Mike McGill, one of the sharpest minds in the business of finance, economy, investing, precious metals, rare earths, all of that. Mike is with us twice a month, libertygoldandsilver.com. Not a big corporation. This is a family-run business, and I hope all of you will patronize these wonderful American entrepreneurs, support them, and let them know you care about their efforts to help you. Hello, Michael. Welcome back.
Jeff, thanks for having us back. It's a pleasure being on.
Yes, sir. Did I miss much? Yes, I missed a lot. But
you got all the high points utterly, and that was kind of going to be my summation, I think. Again, events are breaking so quickly here that I don't know where to begin. I think I will today start with just what happened with gold recently, and then go into some of the background of what the Fed and the corporations are going on behind that, if that's okay. Normally I don't do that, but this time I just think I will, because it's kind of so front and center.
Yeah, let me ask one question first, and I
sure,
just to repeat one of the things I mentioned. This is a little bit of a rhetorical question. Is it too late to invest in gold at this point, to buy gold?
No, it is not. However, it is quickly and very, very suddenly, is only where this came on, almost become impossible to find it. We are selling some, and we do have sources. We sold quite a bit today, relatively. But even those are drying up. What has happened here in the last 2 days? I have it here somewhere. The province in southern.
And to tag on to this, we'll get to this, but while you're looking there, is it? What should you tell people about what not to buy in gold? You don't want to buy gold on a contract. You don't want to buy gold on a promissory note. You don't want to buy deep underground storage gold, i.e. that's gold that hasn't been even pulled out of the ground yet. There's certain kinds of gold you want to buy. We'll get to that. So, okay, go ahead, please.
Well, yeah, that's fine. We had a client, a potential client. He's called me for years, and he called me today and said that he wanted to actually try to get some more money. He'd bought 2,000 ounces of silver through this company down in Santa Monica, California. They were charging him 13% interest. They gave him 2-to-1 leverage for it, and he said it was stored in Brinks. And I know this company because one of their employees, a salesman, was so sickened by working for them, he actually got a hold of me and is his conscience was bothering him, and he wanted to possibly come to work for us, building a market in Southern California. There is a lot of wealth down there. In the fall, and he told me all about their machinations, and I mentioned to this man, I said, listen, you don't know where this is. He said, well, he says it's in vault. It's in Brinks. Well, which Brinks vault? There are Brinks vaults all over the world. Exactly where is it? Is it an allocated account? He didn't know what that meant. That means it's just for your name only, or is it in a giant pool? He didn't know. He knows nothing about it. He bought, he gave them, I don't know, silver was back at about $14, or is back there again. He gave them about $14,000. They promised they actually bought him $28,000, 2,000 ounces of silver. And he didn't want to listen to me too much, but he's called me a lot, and he likes my ideas. And I said, you're going to have to threaten him to give you your money back, because that's what these people are at. You need to threaten them with immediately, you're going to go to the authorities if you don't get your money tomorrow, wire it to me and take me out of this position. And so that we're seeing a lot of that going on, and that's, you got to own the physical. What has happened here recently, just like the last 2 days, the coronavirus hit into southern Switzerland, coming across from the big blow-up in northern Italy, out of Milan up there, blew across into the top minting operations for all of Switzerland. It has closed down all the mints of Camp Swiss Valcambi and Argor Heraeus. They're a German company they're a combined German-Swiss company, wiped out the manufacture indefinitely of 75 to 80% of all gold bars manufactured in the world. That just happened.
Wow.
And that's not what started driving this price before that happened. That's just a little icing on the proverbial cake that's put things in a lather. Now, what's really interesting is these markets are really blowing up with fear. There are a lot of people that want to start taking physical possession here. And the London bullion market announced the very unusual, very strange language. I don't have it right in front of me, but they announced this afternoon that they plan to bring all resources to help the COMEX in New York City to keep markets stable. What does that mean? People want delivery out of the COMEX. There's only a problem there. They trade 600 ounces of gold or silver for every 1 ounce of deliverable bars they claim they have in their vault, and I assure you what they have in their vault is a lot less than what they claim. There are a lot of people asking for delivery now, that sort of thing. There's been a complete cleavage, a complete bifurcation from the paper markets, especially in silver, set by the COMEX and LBMA, than there is in real life. I'll give you an illustration. Spot price of silver tonight is $14.33. U.S. Silver Eagles are selling on most sites tonight for around $24 per ounce. So what we have here is a complete movement or fear driving people into physical possession. The demand has gone crazy suddenly. Illustration, in the month of February, sales were really down in the U.S. Mint. When the lowest, they only sold 600,000 U.S. Silver Eagles in 1 month, in the month of February. In the first 11 days of March, they sold 2.5 million and wiped the whole U.S. Mint out of silver in 11 days. Gone.
Wow. So it's gone.
And
yeah,
gone. Our margins, our markups, our premiums over spot price that we buy from a host of mints and wholesalers for 100-ounce bars, 5-ounce bars, 10-ounce bars, 1-ounce silver rounds, average between 35 and about 45 cents. Probably you say the fair average would be like 42 cents. Well, if you can find any, and we can't find a single ounce available for immediate delivery at all in the entire North America, our margins blew up nearly 1,000% between $3 and over $4 per ounce in a period of about 8 trading days. This happened.
Just for people to be able to get their hands on pay that premium.
Yeah, well, that's what we have to pay to buy it over the spot price. Then we have to we got to put our little
dealers
profit
like
on top of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, on top of it. So this is we've seen this go up over a period of months, but not in a week and a half. Well, this has been just absolutely explosive. The gold today moved up about $80 in 1 day, and that was the greatest one-day move in the history of gold in the U.S. dollar today alone. And that itself is quite amazing.
Right.
Other things that are happening here, I'm just trying to get to it. Delivery is out for most items. The dealers are taking orders. There's some dealers are taking orders with no promised delivery date. We encourage all your listeners are probably all too intelligent for that. But don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Doing that. Whatever. One thing about that.
In other words, let's sum this up. If you cannot get on the phone a 100% guarantee that the dealer you're working with, and I hope it's Liberty Gold and Silver, has your purchase in their building on hand, not through a third party, they have it and they will ship it and give you a tracking number like tomorrow, don't even talk to them. Dump it. Forget it.
You know, we always have been that way, but right now we're actually, every wholesalers are out a couple of days. But we were dealing with really good ones that have a long track record, like 30 to 60 years in the business, that kind of idea. And with a couple of mints, one of them, the Horaeus Corporation, they've done a yeoman's job. They've been around since the Franco-Prussian War, 175 years. They survived World War I and II. They have a big trading house in New York. They've been outstanding with us. And they still have 1 ounce gold bars, at least they did today. Now, the premiums of those have gone absolutely insane as well. For example, our premium to buy a gold eagle, or the predominant, most popular coin in the United States, was about 3.5% over spot. It's moved out now, if you can find any at all, to about 10.5%. So that's a triple up, basically, in about the last 10 days. And as far as we know, there's hardly any of there's none available now, but all those are back ordered at all companies that I can find on the internet. We have a deal going right now where we have access shipping on Friday, and if we take orders, we want to do it for something that's, you know, we tell people they really want it. We have guys buying platinum that have hundreds of ounces coming that will not be delivered to maybe the 7th or the 8th of April. And we've been taking those since clear back in February, because they were getting behind in that out of Europe. They all come out of Europe quite a while ago. Now it turns out this might be a force majeure that our wholesalers will have to get back to us and back to our clients just the cash they paid, because with these mints shut down, it's like an act of God type thing. They cannot deliver the product. So this is what's going on here. That's
what force majeure means for our listeners who may not be familiar with that.
Yeah, it means that there's something it's literally physically impossible for them to produce it. Yeah, to produce a metal, and so we don't know what's going to happen with that. We can't say. But these people really wanted it, and our clients were clamoring for it. And we went, okay, here's the deal. We want, and it could be later. You're 6 weeks out. Sometimes they can run longer, and so we don't want you. Don't be back and calling us complaining. But we send a big paragraph so that we want to explain people their risk. We, as of today, we still had lined up, various hundreds of U.S. gold buffaloes at about 11% over spot. We sold about 80 ounces of that today. Those are going to be shipping on Friday. A really good company. They ship exactly always the day they do. They told me that by the way, a lot of the business has been so heavy that, and a lot of people also, various wholesalers, are now working partly at home to try to reduce coronavirus risk. People in the warehouses are demanding hazmat suits and oxygen breathing apparatus to work there, and they're providing them. They have found them. So the delivery time is 4 to 5 days slower because it takes so long to package up goods. A lot of the companies are quitting at noon.
Yeah.
They have to quit at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day and spend the next 5 hours either assisting in packaging or trying to straighten out invoices. We were receiving calls. It's quieted down today a bit, but of the last 7 or 8, we were receiving as many as 200 to 300 calls a day, sometimes ringing consistently because we sell all over the world and at nighttime. Around the clock, literally 3 o'clock in the morning till 11 at night, and then get a little sleep. And a couple nights we were doing paperwork, sorting out invoices and things till like 2:30 in the morning from about an 19-hour phone day. It's almost like impossible talking to these people. Some of these guys are almost like in battle fatigue. It's almost like, and it's very stressful because you're not just selling tennis shoes. You're selling items that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in these sales. You make a mistake, it's just fatal. And we've been working real diligently not to do that and try to keep everybody happy. And of course, we have brand new people calling us. Why don't we have our order delivery? We told them, look, it's coming in 3 days. Or not, this kind of idea. So it's been really stressful, but it's the most unusual time. I'm talking a lot of old timers, probably in the history of the precious metal markets, in the history of mankind, ever. Unquestioningly, it is.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question. Here, one quickie. Let me ask you a quickie.
Sure.
The hustlers in this business, and God only knows there are too many of them.
Yeah.
Is it a reasonable projection to state that there probably are millions of dollars being spent on gold and silver, etc., which will be churned and used by these unscrupulous dealers who have no real intent of delivering until they're damn good and ready, which whenever that may be. And a lot of times they're going to keep the money. Is that right?
Well, yeah, in the last 4 to 5 years or so, there have been a whole host of dealers. And strangely, we've noticed this, and we noticed most of the, I guess you might say criminality, not all of it, the great majority of it is concentrated in Southern California and on the east coast of Florida, the Miami area. And I have this commodity. I'm a commodity future trader myself, and I have a friend of mine. He bought a lot of gold from us. He's really not about my age. He's very, very adroit, a lot of different personality. But he said, when I was mentioning, well, you know why, Mike? He said, the people that don't like to do physical work and really understand it, they like to live in real warm climates so they can party with all the babes on the beach. You know, that's part of the whole gestalt of that. They go to places where there's easy, cheap money and fast living. That's where they like to set up shop. I never thought of it that way, but after being in the business for a long time, I recognize it's absolutely true. That most of the really strange companies, a lot of them are out of business. They cost billions of dollars. Millions, mega millions of losses to trusting customers, ruin people's entire lives. Almost entirely were in Southern California and Florida. So I just wanted to share that.
All right. Hang on. Thank you, Mike. We got to take a break. Hold on. We'll come right back with Mike McGill, LibertyGoldandSilver.com. Okay, and welcome back. Talking with Mike McGill here about what's going on out there. And what's going on out there is really, it's unprecedented in American history. Nobody's ever seen anything like it before. We're in uncharted waters here. Be careful. The sharks are feeding. If you're an investor looking for gold, silver, precious metals, you better be damn careful or you're going to say goodbye to your money. And that's the truth. Mike, go ahead.
Well, one thing, Jeff, I believe is really important to say here is that, as you kind of alluded to at the beginning of the program, or directly alluded to, people are saying, the politicians, that this coronavirus is the cause for this massive price collapse in equity bonds, everything in the world. And no, it's not at all. It's just a black swan event that helped, a giant catalyst, if you will, that got it rolling faster. It was going to happen anyhow this year. We called this anyhow. We knew this could not sustain. The actual productivity of the United States had dropped almost nothing. In fact, the January, before the coronavirus hit here, the January New York Manufacturers Index, the bellwether of true manufacturing, how can you say, viability in the United States, dropped like 57 points to negative 21, the all-time low in its history, going back to the height of the Great Depression. Well, you can look that up if you want to. New York Manufacturing, that was an index that really did occur. That was before things started really going crazy with this virus and people starting to really freak out. I mean, gold and silver were just sitting there trading sideways, doing nothing. So this thing was baked already, completely into the cake. All it needed was just one little thing to kind of get it going, and it got it in a big way. Now, the Fed's response to this, and of course all these central banks, and naturally is what? We'll create more liquidity. And again, it's out of thin air. When a bank...
Mike, wait a second. I really want to underscore this. The money they're talking about, the $6 trillion Trump proposed today, the Fed bailing out every day nearly $1 trillion. That money, it never existed. It doesn't exist now, and it never will exist. No. It's complete fiction. All of it.
Let me tell you what's going on. All these businesses are clamoring, industry groups are clamoring for a bailout.
Oh, and bailout is free money. That's right.
The airlines want 50 to 60 billion. What the airlines don't tell you, the four majors, was that Southwest, United, Delta, and American, I believe. Then over the last 6 years, they spent $48 billion of their cash savings to buy back their own stock, to drive up their stock, to benefit their large large shareholders and their corporate lackey leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Boeing is a little bit of a problem. It's on the verge of absolute bankruptcy. Friday before just last week, they drew down a $15 billion credit line after they drew down their second one down for 11. They're out of borrowing, and now they need $50 to $60 billion immediately to stay in business. Well, under that failing company...
That's a cash gift, everyone. Understand, it's a gift.
A bailout
is a gift.
That's a cash gift. That's what they're begging for. But here's what, during that time, were they spending a lot of money on research and development and really fixing the plane, the MAX 727 that was engineered on the cheap, and the engines are the wrong size, therefore the plane tips over, and then you have to cheat it with software to try to compensate, and the pilots can't it's too difficult and dangerous, so the planes crash, and now they're all out of business in the world, and Boeing is facing bankruptcy. Well, I'll tell you what Boeing did. They didn't do that. Boeing spent over $100 billion in the last decade buying back their own stock. And now they want $60 billion to be bailed out after they use their own money. By the way, the employees' pension fund of Boeing is completely broke. Zero. My ex-brother-in-law worked there for 20 years. He's going to wind up with nothing here in about 6 months. Not a thing. That's a true story, and that's what these corporate people have done. This leadership of these corporations have done to their workers.
Yeah, right. Oh, they've raped the workers. Trump is going to give them the money. He'll give them the money. Most of them.
He's going to give them the money.
See, it's the American way. We lose Boeing. We're going to lose. What are we going to lose? The research money that goes to Boeing is huge every year. By the way, you're right. The pensions are all looted. By the way, he also said, in capitalism, it is survival of the fittest. If you fail, you should fail, but not under this regime. Trump also said he thinks that
not under the past ones either. Now, if you own a little,
he wants to bail out the cruise ship industry. He said we need this industry. Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Anyway,
what do they do? Are you kidding me? That's unnecessary. Oh, by the way, all the cruise ship industries, all those boats, they're all licensed like in Liberia and Panama. And they're corporate. Although they say they have corporate offices, they're not U.S. government companies. They're out of offshore Belize. They paid something like just a fraction more than 1% of their net profit went in income tax last year, basically for the money they generate in their ports while they ran American ports. That's a true story. What a joke. Oh, but here's the real one. Sheldon Adelson and all the lackeys down there, the Wynn Corporation, the Mirage, the MGM Grand that owns the Bellagio, all the casinos, they're writing furiously and demanding. Of course, they lobby strong with all the congressmen. They need a $60 to $80 billion immediately to keep them going under. I mean, after all, that's a real value. They provide a real valuable service of showing all the sheep that go down there and dump their money on a crap table. Unbelievable,
man. And they want to bail out, and they're probably going to get it because of all their donations to all the key political...
All their donations, they'll get it.
Hey, Las Vegas casino companies, they're burning up about $15 million just a day now to try to stay afloat. A day.
Yeah, 15 a day. Oh, by the way, Jeff, on the Las Vegas casino companies, a whole lot of those were bought out by umbrella groups under what is called, what do you call it? When they were bought out, they used borrowed money to finance it and put that on the back of the casinos. I can't even think of the name of all the players. There's three major, besides MGM Grand, there's three other ones down there, and they're all extraordinarily leveraged. They basically only have a few weeks of cash flow because they're paying enormously on the bonds they borrowed to buy up other casinos to expand their empire. Now, what's happening with bonds like that, also when we talked in the past program on oil, massive amounts of credit is being downgraded from to junk status below triple B investment grade. It's falling like crazy. Now, not to be outdone, though, the Fed just announced a brand new program. I'm going to read this one to you. I typed this right out here. That they're going to spend, let me just find it in my notes here. Hang on a second. They're going to spend, let me get it here exactly where it is. Just a minute here. Maybe it's on the next page. Just a moment. It's absolutely amazing. They're going to start buying back corporate debt that's worthless. Some of this debt is now not tradable. In other words, a $10 million bond is worth maybe you might be able to get $300,000 for it or something like that. It's like totally worthless. So the Fed now is going to start buying. Of course, who lent them that money? Well, the banks did because they wanted some fast yield on that. And, of course, some big hedge fund players did, and they're in massive trouble, by the way, massive. In fact, most of the Fed's repo operations, a great majority of the $6 trillion they funded through the end of last year and this year, a great majority of that went to keep hedge funds alive. Private wealthy hedge funds, you have to, the participants in that have to have maybe like 20 or 30 or 50 million even to be able to join them, like Bernie Madoff people. So they're the ones that have been trading arbitrage at 20, 30 times leverage, and they got in trouble, okay, on interest rate swaps. And so the Fed has been funding those guys to keep those complete, absolute, I don't know what you want to say, a parasitical little group alive. They're just amazing. They're a very important part of the wheeling and dealing of the world commerce of these hedge funds. The failure of long-term capital management which, by the way, was ran by two Nobel Prize winners in economics. They were trading Russian bonds back in the late 90s. They lost, I don't know what they lost, 148 billion or something. In 2 days, they almost brought the whole world down. The Fed had to bring in $100 billion in emergency money in like 1 hour to save collapsing the banking system back in 1998. All they do is to take care of these guys and let them do it again. No money goes to the common people, hardly ever. Not a trickle. It was never designed to go to them. It was designed, like you said, it's a Ponzi scheme since 1913 to fleece people. And, I read something real funny a long time ago. There was a great writer, I forget his name. He wrote for Newsweek, I believe, and that's a rag. But he was kind of a sports writer. He was kind of a Damon Runyon kind of writer. He wrote about underground people that hung around gambling in the tracks. It was like a modern Damon Runyon. It was very funny. And he said, the mark of a great con man is not really what you tell him to get him to give you the money. The mark of a great con man is what you have to tell him when you tell him you can't pay it back. and I just thought of that recently, and that's where we are in this country. It's just really, really crazy. Well, in any case, so the Fed is now got this new program up where they're going to start buying bad corporate junk debt from all the lenders to keep them whole, and so that the banks then can extend further credit to keep this fraud, like the shale oil, or the oil companies that are hemorrhaging money, alive a little longer. Now, let me just go over something that's really amazing here. This is an amazing statistic. I want maybe the listeners can put your mind around this. Yesterday afternoon, the Fed announced like their new, basically what it's called, their new, going to be called their, well, they don't call this, but there's their new quantitative easing 5. We like to call it quantitative easing to eternity. We call it QE.
I like that.
QE. It's not going. Yes, QEE. It's not going eternity. This is going to be under purchase $125 billion a day in various forms of failing securities, and it's kind of vague on that. So they're going to lend out, and again, it's literally typing on it's going to be like hiring a $16 an hour typist to type in $625 billion into somebody's account, and therefore poof, it's money magically, just like that. And in any case, they're going to be doing that $625 billion a week, this adds out to, with no limit in sight. Now, this is what's incredible. The first QE2 that came into existence back in 2012, they spent only $500 billion over 7 months. That was in 2011, I mean, over 7 months.
Okay, think about that. Hold on. Let's let that sit in. 500 billion, half a trillion in 7 months. That's it. That was QE. That was the total amount output. Go ahead.
QEE is spending more than that a week, $625 billion a week. So if this program is extended, and I think it will not only be extended, but this amount will be increased, it would raise the Fed's balance sheet in over 7 months, $18 trillion. I mean, what? Well, that's exactly what it's going to do. And, of course, that's all debt that American taxpayers and their progeny will have to be able to be responsible for ultimately in some form or another. And what we're seeing here is what's going to happen now. They're flooding it. The Europe is dumping under Lagarde over there. She used to run the IMF. Now she's head of the. I think I mentioned on your program. Wait till you get that lovely witch in charge over there. She's going to make her predecessors look like they were tame. This chick believes in spending big money that's not her and creating it. And so she just said, I'll do everything to support this. All the central banks now are working in tandem. They talk daily. They've made a promise. They're going to flood the whole world weekly with trillions of dollars combined a week of fiat, fraudulent money a week to try to prop this up and keep it alive.
It's a joke.
It's literally monopoly money.
Yeah.
And, of course, Trump wants to, they're talking about giving every single adult in the country about $1,500 to $3,000 in the first operation. Well, what gold and silver responding now, especially gold, it recognizes this, like it has its own mind almost in the way it works. It does in a way. It recognizes we're going to start going Zimbabwe here really quick. This will start merging really fast into a Venezuelan-type hyperinflation. This kind of money is and there's no end to it. They're all saying we're just going to do it till we get a solution here. Well, with 30% of the world's population not working and maybe 1.5 billion people in lockdown that can't go to a job, all that money is going to do is just go straight into inflation. So what we're going to have here is the worst form of stagnation.
Good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, they can't work. Right. The money's just going to go into this thing. It's going to start inflating daily costs of prices. So assets that people had, like real estate and stocks, are going to get killed now. And I'll want to discuss something about that in just a minute, which is beyond amazing. They're now trying to, all these cities are trying to protect the real estate market, and especially tenants in uber-liberal cities like Portland. So check this out. The Multnomah County Commission voted in here last week, I think on Friday, an emergency meeting. They just made this law with a little unanimous 6-person vote or whatever the hell they are, that now for the next year, minimally because of the coronavirus, no landlord can evict a tenant for non-payment of rent. Everybody grab your minds around that.
I think they're doing that in much of California now.
They are, and I think it's going to go statewide in the entire state of Washington. I assure you what this means. The absolute bankruptcy of every apartment owner and every single, landlord, period. You better own that property free and clear, because if you have any debt on it, you better have a lot of cash to cover those mortgages over the next several years.
And guess
because
what?
This will be extended as long as this goes on. Yeah.
The socialist communists will laugh. They won't care. They think it'll mean free housing for everybody.
Let's be free. I know they actually believe that. Oh, not to be outdone with that, in Portland, Oregon, they're converting this is one you're really going to like, our grand, what do you call it? I got a mind blank tonight. It's our convention center. It's really close to the Rose Quarter, the Moda Center now, where the Portland Trail Blazers play. Okay, it's the east side of town. They used to play. Yes, they used to play. That is correct. Exactly. When this is done, these guys may be going back to working with McDonald's like everybody else when this money runs out. I'm telling you. In any case, this beautiful expire. They added one. They doubled the size some years ago, and of course they use a bond. They raised people's taxes to pay for it. It's enormous. They're converting the whole facility into a 2,000-bed coronavirus living center for homeless people. I find that to be really excellent. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, this is like...
which location is this again? I might not have gotten
This is the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon, right on the Columbia River. Yes.
And they're going to put 2,000 homeless people in there.
They've already got the pictures of the cots right in there together.
Crawling with
coronavirus.
Crawling with coronavirus.
All doing drugs, robbing, stealing, killing each other. They're moving them in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and get
there
this.
You go.
Here's another kicker for you. The Corona Princess, the ship that was in the Yokohama harbor with all those poor people who were locked on board, basically, until they got infected, they found now that the virus is still in the cabins up to 17 days after they've been
read that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this stuff doesn't go away. I've been telling people, they say, 3 days it's gone. No. I said 9, and now they're finding it 17.
17. So, what are we here to say? So, in any case, so that's the kind of crap that's been going on in these markets. I mean, these central banks, we're going to go into stagflation like the 1970s, but about 20, 30 times worse. Salaries are way down, if any work at all. Right. Nobody has any savings. The average half Americans can't afford $500 for a car repair. So what about that's over 160 million people will have no savings at all. The landlords will all go broke. By the way, big commercial debt on shopping centers and other large companies' debt was downgraded today by Moody's and Fitch 5 levels into junk status, just one day, all day. Of course, they should have done it 3 years ago, but they decided to do it now at the last moment.
That means they'll turn a lot of malls into coronavirus homes for the homeless.
That's what they're probably going to do. They might as well, because they're not worth anything anyhow. Nobody goes to them anymore, so that takes care of that one.
They are converting some of them into 400-square-foot living quarters. Big dormitories, what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a good plan. We like that. What else I was going to try to say here? I mean, this stuff, you literally can't make this stuff. But reading this is almost like watching. One time I watched a remake of the RoboCop movies. One night I was just kind of bored. God, those were funny. They were forecasts of the future, exactly what was going to happen here in dystopian Detroit in the future, where everybody's out of work and everybody's killing each other. I was like, oh my God, well, this is really happening now. It's really real. So what we're looking for here now is starting to be by even the fall, a mass raise in daily prices, things like, if you can get any at all, milk, oranges, things like that. It's going to start really going up to the point like, oh my God, I went back there and I got a third less groceries like a month later. And then it's 2 weeks later I got a third less. You can watch. We make a prediction on your program, on air, and the whole world. You're going to start seeing this, because these guys are not going to stop printing until it all blows up. They're going to try to keep it around a little bit longer to suck the last shekel out of the hands of the last American or citizen, so there's none left. I guarantee you that's what their strategy is. They're not going to let this go. So this is going to cause massive pain in rising prices with lower income to afford it simultaneously. Wages will not be going up commensurate with price inflation for daily survival goods, services, food, and things like that. This is going to be pain like way worse in the final analysis in the Great Depression. Way worse.
It's already worse than the Great Depression. I really think so. At this point, maybe it won't last as long, but I think the severity of it is clearly superior to it in the negative sense of the word. But yes, agreed.
Yeah, so in any case, that's our sum up here. I don't know what else to add to all this. I have a couple of things that's happened recently, just in the last 3 or 4 days. A couple of big commodity clearinghouses. They're enormous. I don't have their names right in front of me. One's off the tip of my head. I couldn't find the article. They got offices in Hong Kong. Of course, they're based right next to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Chicago. Their headquarters. They have branches in London, New York, and Hong Kong. They were shut down and went bankrupt. $14 billion taken out immediately on Friday in 1 hour. There were positions. They were doing, I think they were doing interest rate swaps, got killed, and they were done. There have been another couple of clearinghouses, commodity firms, I understand, were going out of business today. All forms of leverage of companies based on massive leverage, like in the futures market, you can trade gold 33 to 1 for 100,000. You can tie up $3.3 million of gold. Those positions go against you 2%, 3%. You're done. You're broke immediately. Well, a lot of companies have been doing a lot of, not just for their clients, they're doing their own trading too, and they're just falling like daily. We're talking massive losses here for themselves and clients invested with them. I don't know if these futures exchanges can withstand that. They're supposed to be the court of last resort to protect them. I don't think they will.
It's going down. It's coming down. It's by intent, by design. It's it's broken, and it's going to be allowed to disintegrate. Then they'll come in with the next new game, the next new Ponzi scheme with absolute digital currency, digital this, digital that. They're just ratcheting up control. The next world is here. This is broken beyond repair.
You know, there was
what they're doing is maxing out. Hold on. They're maxing out. The government is maxing out its credit card, so to speak, with all this enormous spending. Trump has driven up the national debt, trillions of dollars, and no one seems to know. Go ahead.
Nobody seems to know. Nobody seems to care. Like, oh, yeah, that's a great plan. A plan for, and all the common citizens, oh, good, we're going to get free money. Oh, great. You know, but I have to live in my apartment. I can't leave for 6 months. That's a great thing. I have some free money. What am I going to spend it on? I mean, maybe online poker or something you do, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know either, my friend.
Okay, well, Jeff, I'm sorry. I wish we had better news for you today, but we don't. But, you know, we're trying to bring it to you like we see it.
It's going to be like this. No, we always tell it like it is. It's going to be like this for, unfortunately, many months. It's going to just keep getting worse.
We think this is going to be a long one. I think it's going to be at least 2 years before we see any kind of daylight. Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but I can't see any other way out of it. I just don't think it's going to self-correct.
It's a very reasonable projection. No, and Trump wants to put America back to work no later than Easter.
Hey, are you kidding me? How was that? 3 weeks out from now? What is that?
2. I think it's 2.5. No, he's going to put people back to work, and they're going to end up being all sick. Is what happened. They tried that in China.
And that's when it really got bad. I know.
Yeah.
But now they close everything down.
There are millions dead in China. You count on it. Millions.
Yeah, that's a fact.
It's crazy out there. All right? Be safe. Be well.